Hello everyone, it's Dylan from Yu-Gi-Oh! Everything, and welcome back to another Yu-Gi-Oh! Video. So we finally got the cover card as well as the first batch of cards for the Alliance Duelist set, which is coming out in the OCG, I believe in January, and the cards we have just gotten are absolutely insane. Now, when we saw the name Alliance Duelist, a lot of people thought Yugioh VRAINS. I was one of them. I thought this was going to be a VRAINS related set, and it looks like we were correct. We are getting some really cool Cyberse monsters. Now, I've seen a lot of people say that a lot of these monsters are generic, and a lot of people see that these probably could be used with Malice, the new Alice in Wonderland archetype that was revealed not too long ago. So, again, I'm not here to really break down the intricacies of how these cards could work. I love looking at these cards from the anime perspective, giving you guys any little insight on what anime references might be there, and there are some amazing references to the Yu-Gi-Oh! VRAINS anime. So without further ado, let's get right into it, and we gotta start with Wizard at Ignister. Now, Wizard at Ignister is obviously based on Cyberse Wizard. You can see the at Ignister logo on the hat of the Wizard. The Wizard itself looks a little more tiny than Cyberse Wizard, I would say, but really cute monster. Another Playmaker Yusaku monster that we're getting an at Ignister version of is Backup Secretary, and that is Backup at Ignister, which is clearly Backup Secretary. You can see that Ignister logo again in the hairline. Backup Secretary was always one of my favorite Playmaker monsters that was not an extra deck monster. Always loved the design of it. I think this design is super cool, and I love with both of these monsters you have like the purple eye the purple Ignis eye color scheme that kind of like not infects but overtakes these monsters to really make it feel like a mix of Eye and Playmaker's monster, which is really awesome. I'm not going to read the effects, but if you have a Cyberse monster special summon from the extra deck, you can basically special summon both of these cards from your hand. So that can obviously help you either link climb or, do whatever you got to do. So two really cool monsters. And then, of course, we're getting another Kuriboh monster. Of course, Kurikulink at Ignister. The Ignister logo for Kurikulink, of course, is on the tail. I do love that all of these monsters have that at Ignister logo. Now, this monster looks very similar to Link Kuriboh in the color scheme as well. I feel like the color is almost, honestly, identical. And, of course, all of these monsters have very similar effects as their Playmaker version. Cyberse Wizard, Backup Secretary, and Link Kuriboh. So this monster's got two quick effects. You can tribute one at Ignister monster, special summon this card from your hand or graveyard, banish when it leaves the field. When a card or effect is activated that targets the Cyberse monster you control, and you control a Cyberse monster special summon from the extra deck, you can tribute this card, negate that effect. That second effect is pretty good. Again, any quick effect negate, I feel, is always a pretty useful effect. And you're almost always going to have a Cyberse monster special summoned from the extra deck because, it's so easy to link climb in the Cyberse deck. And again, pretty generic stuff here as we kind of discussed at the top of the video. So those are all the, I believe, main deck monsters. We're getting a Synchro, Xyz, and Link. And this is when things get fun. And, of course, we're starting with the Synchro monster, Playmaker and Ai's new Synchro monster, Firewall Saber Dragon. Materials, again, we're keeping that theme of generic. One tuner and one non-tuner. And it's got 3 once per turn effects. If this card is Synchro summoned, target one Cyberse monster in your graveyard or banishment. Add it to your hand. You can target one other Cyberse monster you control that has a level. This card's level becomes that monster's. If this card is sent to the graveyard as link material, you can add one eye spell from your deck to your hand. So this monster is incredible, and it is, of course, a Synchro counterpart to Firewall dragon. It does not have that sort of @Ignister logo because it's not an @Ignister monster, but it still does have that like purple eye Ignis color scheme. I personally have always loved Firewall Dragon. I know some people say that the head of Firewall Dragon looks like a toilet bowl seat, which I totally get and kind of embrace, honestly. I think it's hilarious. I still think the design of Firewall Dragon is absolutely incredible. It's a monster I wish Playmaker used a little bit more in the Yugioh VRAINS anime, but obviously there was issues with it real life, getting banned and everything, and that kind of killed any chance for it showing up in the second half of the show. But this is a great variant of it design-wise. Effect-wise, it really is kind of a means to getting to a bigger monster. I feel like you don't really want to end with this monster. The level changing effect allows you to maybe get an Xyz off, and of course it's got an effect if it's sent to the grave as link material. So I feel like this card design wise is a lot cooler than the effects are, but generic materials is always fun. And then we're moving on to Code Ignsiter, which looks like a version of like Decode Talker. I'm not sure if this is supposed to be like a Decode Talker Xyz monster. The materials are 2 level 4 monsters. Again, generic materials. The 3 effects are once per turn. If this card is Xyz summoned, you can add 1 Cyberse ritual monster from your deck to your hand. You can detach 1 material from this card, ritual summon a ritual monster from your hand by tributing monsters from your hand or field whose total levels exceed or equal its level. If this card is sent to the graveyard as link material, you can add 1 Eye Trap from your deck to your hand. So both the Synchro and Xyz monster do have benefits if you decide to link them with that spell and trap, that AI spell trap search. Code Ignsiter, really cool looking monster. I don't know if there's any other kind of deeper references here. The line pattern on the body itself certainly reminds me of Decode Talker. And again, all of these monsters keeping that sort of purple color scheme. But this monster, super cool to look at. But of course, the next 3, I think, are my 3 favorite. I think we've actually kind of saved the best for last. And we got to start with the new Access Code Talker. Well, that's maybe high praise. Access Code Talker is such a good monster. I don't know if we can call this the new Access Code, but it's supposed to be a Code Talker @Ignister, which is a Link 5 Cyberse monster. This is, of course, the cover card of Alliance Insight. A fun fact about this that I actually saw on Twitter, the monster's name is a match of Accord and Code Talker, right? A code. And an accord, of course, is like an agreement, which I think is probably a reference to the end of Yugioh VRAINS, where I offered to fuse his consciousness with Playmaker's to become one. Now, keep in mind, Playmaker did not accept this offer. Playmaker would go on to defeat I in the duel, and I would die, cease to exist, kind of. Of course, he woke up at the very end of the show. Duel Links may have continued that story, and it seems like I is okay. But really, really cool kind of reference there in the naming structure. A code mixed between Accord and Code Talker. Playmaker, of course, rejecting the Accord that I offered him. And we get a @Ignister version of Access Code Talker. Now, is the monster any good? Well, you let me know. Bold effects are once per turn. If this card is link summoned, you can activate this effect. You cannot special summon other monsters for the rest of this turn. Also, special summon as many Cyberse monsters with 2300 attack from your graveyard as possible to your zones this card points to. And if you do, this card gains 500 attack for each. So, a Decode Talker 500 attack buff there for every monster that's pointing to it link-wise. So that is actually pretty cool. And of course, the Synchro and Xyz we just went over have 2300 attack, so those are some targets for it. When your opponent activates a card or effect as a quick effect, tribute a link monster this card points to, negate the activation, and if you do, banish that card. So this card certainly does not have nearly the OTK potential that Access Code Talker has, but still a really cool looking card. I feel like it's probably not as good as Access Code, but still really, really cool that we are getting an @Ignister version of a monster that really was vital in defeating I and, of course, stopping the Ignis in Yugioh VRAINS. But the spell and the trap, man, the spell is so good. ties, which of course is a play on the word ties. And just looking at it, they're in the Cyberse world. You got like what looks like fireworks in the background, and you have all of the Ignis on this card. So freaking cool. Top right Aqua, bottom right Lightning and Windy. I like that Lightning and Windy are paired together. Obviously the two, SOBs in that second season. And then on the left side, of course, you got Flame and Earth, and you've got Ai hogging most of the spotlight, which is pretty on point for him. It is amazing. Someone pointed out to me, shout out to my friend Max on a stream yesterday, that Lightning and Windy have appeared in an official card before their decks have been officially released. Still waiting for Armatos, Legios, and Storm Riders, which is hilarious that they are actually on this card, and we still do not have their decks released. This is an amazing card, and obviously the name ties just, references the bond and the ties between these six. I almost said these five, these six. And it is an incredible, incredible card. You can only activate one card once per turn. The effect of this spell: reveal one Cyberse monster in your hand. Apply this effect based on its attribute. Also, you cannot special summon for the rest of this turn after this card resolves except Cyberse monsters. If it's dark, special summon the revealed monster, and if you do, add one non-dark level 4 or lower Cyberse from your deck to your hand. Non-dark, shuffle the revealed monster into your deck, and if you do, add one Ignister monster with a different attribute from your deck to your hand. And obviously, Ai himself is the Dark Ignis, so it's cool. He's the one on the spotlight of this card. Dark's got its own ability, and then if it's not a Dark monster, well, then it's got a different ability. So, probably my favorite card design-wise of the bunch. A really, really good card. And then the next trap, Ibo, or Partners, obviously a mix on a play on partners, and Ibo, of course, is something that Yugi and Atem called each other quite often. Target face-up cards your opponent controls equal to the number of Cyberse monsters you control with 2300 original attack. Negate their effects until the end of this turn. You can banish this card from your grave, target one of your banished Cyberse monsters, special summon it. And this card artwork shows Ai wielding the sword of Dark Templar at Ignister, kind of riding on the head of Decode Talker, which is absolutely incredible. Another card to show the bond between Playmaker and Ai. Of course, Dark Templar at Ignister is the at Ignister version of Decode Talker, and instead of having Dark Templar, to have Ai himself wielding that sword on top of Decode Talker. Of course, Decode Talker, the inspiration for Ai creating Dark Templar, and the two of them having that great scene at the end of the duel is absolutely incredible. And once again, as we've seen so often with anime support, I think they hit it out of the park, man. I think this stuff is so cool and so well done, and every time we get new anime support, it is always chock full of incredible references. And if going through this doesn't make you miss Vrains and doesn't make you want to see a rematch between Playmaker and I with all this new support, then I don't know what will, man. Great, great stuff. Guys, let me know if I missed any references at all. Let me know of these bunch which one's your favorite, and please let me know all your thoughts down below in the comments. Let me know more predictions. What other cards do you think we're going to get? What other support archetypes do you think we're going to get? Would love to know all of your thoughts in the comments. Thank you all so much for watching, and I hope you have an amazing day. Take care, guys.